Chapter 2 Specific Performance of Contracts Section 9 to 25. Section 9 of Specific Relief Act provides for the defense which can a person against whom the relief of specific performance is claimed may plead. Section 10 of SRA provides for the contract which can be specifically enforced. In the case of breach of contract to sale of immovable property, the court shall draw a presumption that breach of contract cannot be adequately relieved by money compensation. Which one of the following contracts cannot be specifically enforced? A contract which is in its nature determinable. In which one of the following section of SRA is the specific performance of contract enforceable? Section 10. Which one of the following can specifically enforced under Section 10 of SRA 1963? Chalets of specific value. Decree for specific performance of movable property can be granted when the plaintiff sue for 50-year-old painting. Under Section 10 of SRA, the specific performance cannot be granted if there is no concluded contract. Granted when there is a concluded contract, the compensation is a money, is not an adequate relief, there exists no standard form of asserting the actual damage. Section 11 of SRA refers specific performance of contract connected with trust. Under Section 11 of SRA 1930, a contract made by trustee in exercise of his power or in breach of trust is not specifically enforceable. Under Section 10 of SRA, which of the following can be specifically enforceable? Contract to get objects of historic value. Section 11 of SRA provides for a specific performance of contract connected with trusts. Section 12 subclause 2 of SRA applies where the part is remaining unperformed of contract is a small proportion. Contract for sale of a Maruti Claire car is can specifically enforced. A specific performance of a part of contract has been dealt under Section 12. For Section 12 subsection 4 of the specific SRA 1963 to apply. Both A and B. A party to contract must be divisible. A part that can specifically enforceable in independent and separate from the other part. In case of SR, specific performance of part of contract, the purchaser may relinquish claim to further performance and remaining part of contract has right to compensation. The provision regarding SRA specific performance of right of contract are contained under the SRA in Section 12. Section 12 of SRA applies where a part which remain unperformed, the contract is small. Under Section 12 subsection 2 of SRA, part performance of contract can be enforced by both A and B, the promisor, the promisee. Which one of the following section deal with the specific performance of part of the contract? Section 12. A singer has entered into contract with B for giving performance subsequently. A commit breach of contract. What remedy is available to B? B can claim damage for A. Under Section 12 of SRA, general rule is that specific performance of a part of contract shall not be granted. Section 13 of SRA confer certain right on purchaser of immovable property. The readiness and willingness of party seeking specific performance of contract must be proved. An order allowing the prayer for injunction should ensure that all of the above. The plaintiff has personal interest in the subject matter. Order should be not implemented to delay the progress and completion of any infrastructure project. The plaintiff should not have accused in breach of contract. Which one of the following is correct with respect to substituted performance of contract? The party claiming breach can get the contract performed either himself or through agent after notice to the party who has committed the breach and claim compensation of performance from the party committing the breach. The correct position of law with respect to damage in lieu of specific performance would be neither of the statement is correct. Section 13 of SRA has no application when transfer has been effected in respect of a property in which vendor has title. In which one of the following contract can be specifically enforced as per the provision of Section 14 of the SRA? All of the above. A. Contract to marry B. A contract A contract with B that consideration of 1,000 rupees to be paid to him by B. He will paint a picture for B. A an author contract with B, a publisher to complete the literary work. Which section of SRA provide about a specific performance of contract which cannot be specifically enforced? Section 14. Contract not specifically enforceable have been enumerated in Section 14. In which one of the following cases would be specific performance of any contract not be enforceable by the court? Where compensation in money can be afforded for non-performance of contract as an adequate relief. Which one of the following contract cannot be specifically enforceable as per the provision of Section 14 of the Act? Contract which is determinable in its nature. A contract with B to sing for 12 months at B theaters and not to sing in public and anywhere elsewhere is B cannot obtain a specific performance to sing, but he is entitled to injunction restraining A from singing at any other place of public entertainment. Which one of the following is correct statement? A contract for non-performance of which compensation in money is an adequate relief is not specifically enforceable. For granting a specific performance of contract for construction of any building, the following condition has to be fulfilled. A. The building is described in the contract in terms of significant precise to enable the court to determine the exact nature of the building. The plaintiff has a sufficient interest in the performance of contract, and the interest is of such a nature that compensation in money for non-performance of contract is not adequate relief. The defendant had, in pursuance of contract, obtained possession of the whole or any part of the land on which building is to be constructed. All of the above is the right answer. Under SRA, power of court to engage expert is provided under which section? 14A. A specific performance of contract is allowed where compensation is not an adequate relief. In which one of the following cases the specific performance of contract is not ordered? All of the above, where pecuniary compensation would afford adequate relief, where the act would be required containing supervisory by the court, where the contract provides for personal affirmation acts or personal service. Which section of SRA deal about contract not specifically enforceable? 14. Which one of the following fact is not correct under section 14A of Specific Relief Act? The opinion of expert may not form part of the record. In a suit of SRA, which section empowered to court engage expert? 14A. The following contract cannot be specifically enforced. Contract which is in the nature it is determinable. Contract not specifically enforceable. All of the above. A contract for non-performance of which compensation in money is an adequate relief. A contract which run into such minute and numerous detail. A contract the performance of which involve the performance of continuous duty which the court cannot supervise. Specific performance of contract may not be enforced if compensation in money is an adequate relief. Under section 15 of SRA, specific performance of contract may be obtained. All of the above. Any party of the contract, the representative in interest of the party of the contract, the principal of any party of the contract. Under section 16 of SRA, in a suit for a specific performance of contract, the plaintiff must aver performance of or readiness and willingness to perform. What is the meaning of readiness? Plaintiff capacity including financially. SRA, the specific performance of contract may obtain by all of these. Any party thereto, the representative in interest of party thereto, the principal of any party thereto. Which one of the following section deal with personal bar and remedies under SRA? Section 16. Within the meaning of section 15 of SRA, the assignee fails. Within the meaning of representative in interest or principal. A specific performance of contract cannot be enforced in a person in a favor of a person all above who would not be entitled to recover the compensation for breach, who has become incapable for performing or violating any essential term of contract that on his part remain to be performed, who failed to aver and prove that he has performed or has always been ready to willingness to perform essential term of contract which to be performed by him. Provision regarding the person who may obtain specific performance are specified in section 15. A suit for a specific performance of contract for its enforcement can decreed when there exists no standard form of asserting the actual damage caused by the non-performance of it. Defendant is in possession of 120 cotton bales. An agent of the plaintiff. As an agent of the plaintiff, plaintiff file a suit for specific performance of contract against the defendant to compel the delivery of the same. The relief claimed can be refused on the ground that compensation in term of money would be afford adequate relief. under which section of SRA ready and willingness is necessary condition to specific performance of contract. Section 16 C. 16 subsection C. Which one of the following statement is correct? The court, while refusing to grant a specific performance of contract, cannot be grant refund and earnest money paid by the plaintiff unless it has been specifically claimed. The grant of decree of a specific performance of contract is discretionary. Under section 20C of SRA, for disposal of suit, maximum period provided for 18 months. Section 20A was inserted in SRA in respect of specific performance of contract, which are infrastructure projects. Point out on which one of the following ground court shall refuse the decree of specific performance. In a case where the contract is not enforceable at the instant of other party. Court power to award compensation is provided under SRA Section 21. ASUB for a specific performance of contract. In the plaint, A seek the relief of a specific performance. He does not seek any relief in the alternative. The court determines that it cannot order the specific performance of contract. Can the court award the compensation instead? Compensation can be awarded only after the court allow the plaint to be amended for including a claim of compensation. Under Section 21 of SRA, the court shall not award compensation unless the plaintiff has claimed it in his plaint. The plaintiff may ask for relief of possession, partition, or refund the earnest money under Section 22 of SRA, where the suit for specific performance of contract for transfer of immovable property. In a suit for a specific performance of contract in which compensation has not been claimed, fresh suit for compensation is barred. Section 21 of SRA related to power to award compensation in certain cases. In a suit for specific performance of contract, the plaintiff has not claimed compensation for breach of substitution, where in a suit of specific performance of contract, the transfer immovable property. Burden of proof is on plaintiff to prove that breach of contract can be adequately relieved by compensation in money. Yes. Which one of the following prepositions is not correct? C is not correct. Which one correct are? In it is not practicable for a court of law to force a linking between parties to enter into wedlock, and therefore contract for brothel or marriage cannot be enforced in species. A contract to take a loan cannot be specifically enforced because compensation can be adequate relief. A contract by guardian to purchase immovable property on behalf of minor can be specifically enforced provided there is competency of the guardian and legal necessity. In a suit for a specific performance of agreement of sale of immovable property, the plaintiff must aware the proof of following: that plaintiff is ready and willingness to perform his part of contract, who may obtain specific performance of contract in his favor. All of the above. Any party to the contract, the representative in interest of the principal or any party. When a company has entered into contract and subsequently became amalgamated with another company, the new company which arises out of the amalgamation. In a suit for a specific performance of sale, the plaintiff should be alleged that he will be ready and willing to perform his part of the contract. In a case in which time has not been fixed for performance of agreement, the court refused to grant the specific relief of specific performance to the plaintiff on the ground that suit was not filed within reasonable time. The order is legal. In a court may not exercise its discretion to decree of a specific performance of contract when contract give the plaintiff any unfair advantage over the defendant. In a suit for a specific performance of contract where earnest money is paid by the plaintiff, it can be refunded only if it is specifically claimed. To claim a specific performance of contract, it is necessary to plead and prove that plaintiff has always been ready and willingness to perform his part of contract. Jurisdiction of the court to enforce a specific performance of contract is discretionary. Where plaintiff in a suit for a specific performance prove the existence of agreement and non-performance of the defendant, the court is not bound to issue a decree of a specific performance since the relief is discretionary. A court may deny specific performance of an agreement to sale of immovable property if the performance of the contract would involve hardship on the defendant, which he did not foresee, and non-performance would involve no such hardship to the plaintiff. A specific performance of contract means actual execution of contract according to its stipulation. Which one of the following section lays down the rule of discretionary power of court to grant a specific performance is not arbitrary but sound and reasonable? 20. The jurisdiction to the degree of specific performance is discretionary, and court is not bound to grant such relief merely because it is lawful to do so. This word can taken from which section of SRA? Section 20. Provision regarding specific performance of contract are contained in section 12. Under section 9 of SRA, the defendant may plead defense under the law of contract. Section 12 of SRA deal with specific performance of part of contract. Which one of the following is a contract that cannot be specifically enforceable? Both a contract which is in its nature determinable and also dependent on the personal qualification. Section 12 of SRA permit to grant a specific performance of a part of law where the party left unperformed bear only small portion of whole in the value and admit the compensation in the money. Jurisdiction of the court to decree specific performance under SRA is none of these. What are cases in which specific performance of contract is enforceable? Both A and B. When there exists no standard for asserting the actual damage caused by the non-performance, when the act agreed to be done is such that compensation in money for its non-performance would not be afford an adequate relief. Which one of the following statement is incorrect in reference to specific relief act? The dismissal of suit for a specific performance of contract bar the plaintiff right to sue for compensation for breach of contract. In which one of the following cases performance of contract would be specifically enforceable by court? A contract to sell a painting by a well-known dead painter. In a suit for a specific performance of contract, court can award compensation to the plaintiff only if the plaintiff claims such compensation in his plaint. Ramesh and Geeta were husband and wife living in Bangalore. Ramesh was an income tax officer and Geeta was a school teacher. They had two sons studying in school in Bangalore. Parents of Ramesh were also studying with them. Ramesh was transferred to Madras and he had to leave his family behind at Bangalore. He promised to send every month rupee 30,000 to meet his family expenditure to his wife. Ramesh did not send any money from Madras. If Geeta filed a suit for a specific performance of contract, then which one of the following is correct? Family agreements are not contract, hence no order for a specific performance can be ordered. In a suit for a specific performance of contract, the plaintiff must aver the proof that he is always ready and willing to perform his part. Can the plaintiff sue the defendant for compensation for breach of contract after dismissal of suit for a specific performance? Yes. A plaintiff prayed for declaration of contract as a void, and in alternative for a specific performance of contract, it is irregular.